So Hassan Folk, very temporarily, we've shoved it full of troops, and that is because we need the troop capacity here to gather up some looters for a defense. We are going to use these looter bands, and indeed, that's why I chose this location, Hassan Folk, because there's so many looter bands out here. I'll talk about that in a minute, but this is great news. This army now, I think, is 3-0. Zahara, the spice vendor, they're badly beaten up. I might even disband them at some point and call them to me and shove them full of more troops because we need them to have continued success out west for us to continue to expand. So I'm going to gather up some looters here and put them in the garrison, right? And then we will regather up our better troops to extend this invasion. That's been one of the features, is we've been using these looters, these mounted ransackers, as garrison troops, and they do a decent job, again, just sort of stalling the enemy. So we'll grab these troops here. I'll probably over-narrate a lot of this later on, but I wanted to at least talk in case I include some of this in the episode. You can sort of see some of the process here, me sharing looters and mounted ransackers with our companions before we head back to Hassan Folk. Now, part of the reason there's so many looter bands over here is that this city's out of the way, right? In other words, the enemy will attack and destroy these looter bands at a ratio of about 2-to-1. So if there's, like, for example, 700 looters there, if there's an army of 500 enemies, they'll attack that. But if it's an army of 200, they won't, because they'll get destroyed by it. In fact, they'll run from those looters. So it's part of the reason that Hassan Folk has so many armies, is that there's hardly any enemy traffic around here. Yeah, they're coming back, 500 and some with some wounded. They're not going to have a lot of success at such a small number. So I will probably disband them at some point and give them some troops and hope that they have continued success. Yeah, see, here you go. Perfect example of what I was talking about a few minutes ago. Look at these guys running from looters, right? There's this band of angry looters chasing this guy, and he keeps trying to cross the bridge and can't make it. These looters aren't allied with us, but it sure feels like it, right? Because they will not attack our units, or at least they won't attack our army, and yet they're holding back the enemy at various different bridgeheads. I fucking love it. I mean, you gotta love it, right? A bunch of fucking looters chasing around lords across the countryside. Paints a great image, doesn't it? You can just picture them. I'll tear your limbs. A bunch of raggedy looters just chasing off these nobles here. Well, we're going to siege Danustica and add this to the armament here, to the empire, our looter bandit empire here. And unless we get attacked outside this, it's going to be time to try to finish off the Aserai. They have one city and one castle left. At this stage, they must be quaking in their boots. Even inside this city, you can imagine being surrounded by a bunch of angry looters. There's 1,088 bandits and looters outside, angry housewives, insane ex-wives, and they are being surrounded and besieged. Now, look at this. So this happens, I guess, when it's a player clan. Hubyar is being besieged. This is for sure part of our empire, but it's not showing it. Where is this shit? There it is. So it's under attack by the Aserai. So that's why the Aserai aren't defending here. They are heading down into our territory, right? It's like the scene in... yeah, so there's 500 defenders there, 700 militia. That should be able to defend a long time. It's like the scene in Open Range where both sides are kind of trying to seek the other one out. And while Costner and his friend are beating the shit out of the... Anyways, you guys probably haven't seen that movie, so we'll just skip that analogy. The bottom line is the Aserai and now the Khazate are attacking us here indirectly. I don't blame them for not attacking our army directly. It's been surprising how often they're not attacking us in this series. A bunch of looters, and of course... we'll roleplay. They've seen the executions, right? These armies are not eager to attack Hugh the Hammer and his executioner band. Not only a ferocious army full of looters and peasants and brigands and ex-wives, ex-angry ex-housewives, but we're executing people, right? So it's a terrifying prospect, I imagine, on a role-playing level for our enemies to attack here. So we are going to have to deal with Hubyar and Razi. Not Razi, Hassan Folk. Hassan Folk, of course, we just took, but we also have a large garrison there of bandits, so it should hold out. This is precisely what I was talking about a minute ago, right? These cities defended by 600 bandits. I mean, it's similar to this situation here, although it's even longer. This is one of the clear player advantages in Bannerlord. I've talked about it before, but it takes you 2-3 days to complete a siege, and then the actual siege assault is instant game time, whereas the enemy takes 2, 3, 4, 5 days, right? So it's a long process, and obviously that gives us an advantage. So we're going to blitz Danustica here. In the Aserai campaign, this was our capital. I don't plan on keeping this as a capital, right? We are role-playing that we're more southern type folks here. We are bandits. We're unfamiliar with these imperial towns. I don't think we'll sack it just because I don't want any companions to leave somehow, but we're definitely going to pillage the shit out of this rich city and move on. Now, we've got ladders, and I've got a bunch of ranged units, so not too different approach here than many of our other locations. I think what I'll do here is I'll talk a little bit about tactics on the way, but I'm going to continue to talk about elements of the French Revolution, some of the geopolitics. I'll just let my mind wander a little bit as we progress a little bit. You know what? Let's profile Louis XVI more. He's such an important character as part of the French Revolution. Let's spend a couple minutes on this fat, amiable, weak, vacillating, compassionate king. Ironically, the compassionate part led to his downfall, and let me explain. Of course, you French historians or Frenchmen, feel free to tell me. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Obviously, my knowledge of him strictly comes from authors, and even though I've done my best to select legitimate authors, the Will Durants of the world, the Great Courses series as far as Amazon Audible, feel free to correct my ignorance. I think a lot of people on the channel find it refreshing that I have no problem being corrected. I don't take offense. I want to know the correct facts. So if I'm just blabbering nonsense here, be gentle, but feel free to correct me. Now they got a little ballista here. I'm going to kill this guy here before we start. Actually, we could just do both here. You guys, if you're watching this campaign at this stage, you know exactly what we're doing in this campaign. We're going to apply pressure on all three sides. Honestly, there's not too much strategy at this point, at least not yet, other than killing these ballista guys here. We're charging heavily up the ladder here. How come our siege weapons are not destroying that ballista? Oh. There you go. I just had to whine like a bitch, and our guys did their job, right? Blew up his cover, and we can now ramble on about Louis XVI. All right, so Louis XVI was the last Bourbon king, or at least the last king. I don't want to blow the whole story. We'll just say he was in charge of France in the late 1780s when things were really falling apart. Now, why were they falling apart? We've already talked about that. A little 20 seconds on that again. Financially, France was in a very, very bad place. Ironically, and appreciatively as an American, France was in a really bad fiscal position because they had helped us with the American Revolution. A lot of people in America don't really understand how profoundly impactful the French were in the American Revolution. Now, it wasn't just altruism. They weren't just helping us because we were oppressed peasants and shit like that. Absolutely not. A big part of it was that England and France had been rivals, bitter rivals, for centuries. And the French had frankly had their asses kicked for about 100 years by Marlborough and the English Navy, and English capitalism really was overwhelming the French because they had seemingly unlimited money to be able to support large armies across the globe, take French colonies, etc. All right, so I'm getting way off channel here, way off track again. I wanted to talk about Louis XVI, but that's important background. France was broke, and a big part of that was because they had fought, as Louis XVI said, this very honorable war to help the American Revolution. So you incur this huge debt, and just like anybody who's in debt, you need to pay it off. The problem, as I've mentioned before, is that the French aristocracy and clergy had been used to paying zero, almost no taxes at all. These motherfuckers are trying to come up here. I'm interrupting this. Let's grab this 6th Corps and try to jam the stairs. I don't think we're going to be able to. A huge horde of archers just roared up here to try to defend the walls. Never mind, it's degraded into chaos here. All of my tactics are amiss here. We're just going to swing our hammer until the enemy melts. And let's see if I can do both this shit. Let's talk about Louis XVI some more. So Louis XVI was a very unusual king. He had read Diderot, he had read Rousseau, he had read a lot of the philosophes, early word or French word for philosopher, that were part of the Enlightenment, right? Voltaire, he didn't particularly like Voltaire, of course, because he thought he was an atheist, and Louis XVI was at least ostensibly a very pietous king, right? They still had a very strong connection to the church, and of course, if you were a king of France, you needed to have a strong connection and alliance with the church, because they were the one that coronated you, that put your helm on your head or whatever, put the crown on your head at your coronation and said, yes, the Almighty God declares that Louis XVI is the rightful king. All you bitches should obey. Give him your hot daughters to be his mistress, etc., etc., etc. Right? The church and the aristocracy almost always had a strong relationship because it was necessary for that component, of a kingdom in the 13th, 14th, 15th, all the way to the 18th century. I'm going to get killed here telling this narration. Difficult to do this shit. I'm doing the best I can. The enemy's starting to scream for help. That's a good sign, so we will get back to it. So Louis XVI was unusual in a lot of different ways. He actually believed that everybody should have a manual trade, and he chose lockpicking amongst other practices. And this is extraordinarily unusual for a king to be wandering around the Palace of Versailles and other palaces fixing the locks like a layman, right? This is very unusual, and I find it highly refreshing. Now, he was also very weak. He was very indecisive about making decisions. And of course, as a leader, this is one of the worst things you could do. Like in this situation, if I just said, oh shit, well, let's retreat all our units and maybe we'll try the other ladders, right? You can see how this would not be beneficial to a commander in a situation like this, right? Your troops are running back and forth. The other thing is that human beings perceive indecisiveness or slow decisive decisions as being stupid, as being unsure of yourself, as lacking the confidence to make assertive, clear decisions. And Louis XVI very much had that reputation. It led to his wife, Marie Antoinette, actually being a major part politically. Only she was way in over her head as far as the understanding about how things were going, the understanding of politics, the understanding of taxes, the understanding of the situation in France. Hence that phrase that is probably apocryphal that she supposedly said, let them eat cake. If they don't have bread, let them eat cake. This ignorant ass comment. She probably never said that, but she almost certainly felt that way. She thought that, even if she never said that. All right, so Louis XVI, he's weak, he's vacillating. What does he have any good? He's hardworking, I guess, right? He picks locks around, he fixes locks and shit like that. Does he do anything good? We're getting wrecked here, trying to get down to their archers. So he did have some really good attributes. However, they're not seen as attributes today of a good king. And I guess maybe back then is more accurate. Today, especially in America, these are not attributes that are necessarily way high up the list right now, and I think that's a shame. And a big one was compassion. Basically, being merciful, being, what are some other good words for it? Being altruistic, being kind and understanding of the situation of others. Louis XVI very much did not want to kill rebels, did not want to kill people when they got out of line. He was almost a pacifist, right? Despite the wars, the American Revolution, Louis XVI was not some bloodlusting, violent king like a lot of other kings were. Well, that at the time was also seen as weak because that was the norm, right? This was for sure the age where might makes right. The Americans were shoving their way across the eastern part of the country, just basically kicking the Indians in the face, the Native Americans in the face, saying this land is ours. And colonialism was in its full pitch in the 1780s and 90s, right? If you took over land and there were anybody that gave you a hard time about it, you just fucking killed them and said, thanks, now the Bahamas are now ours. We're going to rename all this shit after English colonies and shit like that. This is ours. So in an era of sort of tough boy politics, real politics, no mercy, to have an altruistic, compassionate king like Louis XVI is actually viewed as a negative by his time era. Right? Today we sort of view it as, man, this guy was actually kind of a nice guy. During a lot of the famine, repeatedly he went out and spent large amounts of money to try to feed the starving people of Paris. And these were the people that within a couple of years were going to be putting him on the block. Right? This is a very unfortunate part of the French Revolution. But this vacillation also, and this compassion also led to the downfall of the Bourbon Empire, at least his side of it, right? In 1793, 1792, there were multiple instances where he basically told, whether it was the Swiss Guard or other regiments, don't fire, hold your fire. Not just hold your fire, but let's go ahead and withdraw here. Let's not brutally punish these rebels. Let's acknowledge that there's starving peasants and starving women in Paris, and not just brutally suppress this revolt. By the way, I'm going to start picking up some of these. They have no armor, or at least no plate armor. And I need a few more crossbow for this campaign. So again, we're kind of bending the rules here a little bit, but it is, you know, they're not like a traditional troop line, so I don't feel too guilty about that. Plus, it's not like any of you guys are going to arrive at my house and be like, motherfucker, you said you were only going to do this, this, and this with this campaign, and you're recruiting sword sisters? How dare you? Fucking what a scandalous sack of shit. You indecisive, vacillating, weak fucking... No, I'm just kidding, of course. All right, so Louis XVI, right, just to wrap it up, he was a very kind, very sympathetic, compassionate king. He was weak. He was vacillating. He had a hard time making decisions. And obviously, that's a very negative attribute for a king. But he was relatively intelligent. Why? He was well-read. He was just the wrong man at the wrong time at the wrong place. And ultimately, that led to some of the events that I will speak further about here. We're in another situation here where I have a huge amount of different troops that are all mixed up here. So again, as I've said now 100 times, we're going to fix these troops that have slid into our army here. A little bit of editing. We'll dump a garrison in here, and we will be right back. All right. Reduced our army a couple hundred here. And I think it's time to interrupt this Louis XVI rampage here with a couple strategies. First, we're going to get this point here. Talked about this previously. 25% loss of troops when you break into a siege. That's going to help, right? Just a little bit. It'll save us 40, 50, 60 troops when we defend a city or a castle. Now, let's talk campaign strategy. This army over here, people all the time are frustrated with their nobles. I've got plans for this army. They are 3-0 or 2-0 or something like that. She is heading to Ascar, and I need to give her troops, right? They're down to 400, 500 troops. If I don't help them, they will try to siege somewhere, or they will get trapped by the enemy, and all these armies will be lost and destroyed. All those troops that she's upgraded, they'll be lost. So we're going to do a little micromanagement. Now, first, I'm just throwing a dog a bone here, right? We're rewarding her for taking that castle. She's done an incredible job, right? She's 3-0, and she's taken a castle. Now, I'm going to head south very briefly, though. We're going to head down. We're going to defend Hubyar. We're going to get some reinforcements, and I'm going to disband her army. And then down here, we're going to gather some forces. I'm going to gather up as many decent troops as I feel like I can afford to give her. Have her join our army. We will give her a bunch of troops and then set them off again and hope that they form a refreshed army. I know that's a lot of micromanagement and yada yada. They should improve the game. We shouldn't have to do that, but it is what it is, right? This is part of the game. By the way, I think we'll loop around here and grab these looters on our way back to Danustica. That way we can shove Danustica full of units as well, right? After we defend Huss and Folk here, teach these Khazate a lesson, we will then loop back around and obviously be able to add to our garrison at Danustica. We can't afford to leave 200 defenders at Danustica because it'll be almost instantly sieged before we can even head south. Now this guy, he is the Khan. Bortu is Khan of the Khazates. So this guy, you know, he's asking for it here, sieging our city with 1,000. Unfortunately, I can't fix this part role-playing. This king, this Khan of the Khazates would never be caught dead in a small army sieging a city like this. We're going to pick up some looters here. We're going to destroy this Khan. And it makes, you know what? I've got an idea here. Let's get medieval on these motherfuckers with looters. I've been wanting to get these looter bands, right? This 1,000 band of looters. I've been wanting to get these guys more involved, and I have an idea how to do it. Especially because it's horse archers.
Back off, stranger.
So let's go ahead and strategize a destruction of this pathetic horse archer army. This Khazate force led by the Khan. Let's embarrass them here with some looters. We'll do some upgrades first, but I'm going to get a little bit diabolical in this battle here. We'll probably be about a 50-50 on the power bar, but we're going to try something different here. I'm going to switch the unit spawn prioritization to low level, and what we're going to do is use a vanguard of looters to suppress the horse archers while our other units pound them. Basically take advantage of the fact that we get these free looters with their pitchforks and shit like that. And I'll explain it once we get to the battle scene. I'll kind of see what kind of map we got and work from there. Now I want my glaive here, my polearm for the Khazate, of course. I want the Grim Reaper. Whoops. It's got to go, of course, in a polearm slot. And let's switch our banner here. I've got one, you know, it's decreased taken melee attack damage. I think against the Khazate, so many archers, it makes sense to use the Testudo standard. Decreased range taken damage is probably better since I'm going to be getting shot at a lot. All right, so it's just us here engaging the Khan, board 2. Obviously, normal player damage this whole series. I have a habit of just showing that because, of course, people over the course of the channel's history have said, there's no way you won that battle like that. You must be using easier difficulty. Well, that's why I just got in the habit of just flashing that. Now, this is perfect. There's a river over here where we're going to be able to slow down the horse archers and annihilate them even more. This is going to be, hopefully, a textbook example of how to destroy horse archers here, especially if they send them alone. We'll see what they do. Now, I want a looter division, so let's make this 7th by putting it on low unit prioritization. Look at this. Every single troop in this whole division is looters. We just recruited these guys, or however you want to consider it. They just added it to our army. And now we have like 160 looters. Almost every guy in there besides the captain is a looter. There's like a couple shields at the back. Perfect, right? So we're going to form our normal other divisions. I'm just not going to have a horse archer division. The horse archers are now combined in the 8th Corps. And I'm going to use these trees over here to position various troops. What I want is to slow down and congest the shit out of the horse archers as they make their loop around us. Now, if they go to the very far back of the map, we'll have to pursue them and try to chase them, try to herd them through here like a shepherd dog through the forest. But what we're going to do is set up our normal divisions. So our shock troop division, that's our lovely ladies with their prom dresses. They're the weakest division, right? Because most of them have no shields. You can see how weak. It still didn't fuck with the looter division, right? There's still 160 looters in the 7th. The 4th will be crossbow, of course, and I will put them closest to the horse archers. In case our looters just get executed, the 4th Corps can square and have a little bit of protection against the Khazate. The 5th and 6th, we're going to use to ambush the enemy, right? In fact, the 3rd, 1st, 5th, and 6th, we're going to ambush the enemy. The 1st is reduced a lot because, of course, we have a weaker army, right? We're using the weakest army effectively that the system could produce with that unit prioritization, right? The unit spawn prioritization. We've got our weakest, 750 troops on the battlefield right now. In fact, you can see the power bar. It says we lose for sure. Well, my answer to that is LOL, right? If we can execute tactics here, that blue, that little teal and red mix at the top of the screen means absolutely nothing. And look at that. They are diverting. It's a large force of Khazate, and they have a ton of Khans guards, so this is going to be bloody. It's not like we're just going to crush them here. But I've got a devious plan here. So what I'm going to do is essentially in this area, this ridge here, where the enemy can attack us without coming over it, we're going to position various units. I'm going to position the 3rd, especially because they're weak. And I'm going to use the 7th in a big, long line facing the horse archers, effectively saying, you could shoot these guys in the face. These are looters, right? We don't have any allegiance to them, right? Obviously, if this was a real situation, these guys would definitely object to being just complete fodder for the horse archers, but they can't, right? There's no system like that in Bannerlord. We'll give them the 4th crossbow behind them so that the horse archers have a little bit of deterrence. And I could put the 2nd cav kind of nearby in a shield wall, and that'll absorb some of the arrows. I'm not just trying to sacrifice these looters. I'm trying to use them as free cannon fodder, right? Is the term like the medieval, the late modern period term for it? Oh, you're dead, bitch. Fucking come and attack us. Damn it. These stupid rocks just prevented me from sniping her in the face with the javelin. I can't hit anything anyways. What am I exaggerating at? All right. So the horse archers are circling, but you see they can't really see a lot of our units, in fact. We'll cycle the 8th behind here. I do want to pursue on some level with the cav division. We want to chase them up into our formations. And then what I'm going to do is basically charge the looters straight at the enemy here, right? We want the enemy to to circle us because I want them behind us. The normal process for horse archers is they will attack and then try to circle. Well, if you can herd them, if I can herd them to charge through the forest here, we can do major work on these guys. Now, I recognize it's like 600 or whatever troops we have against their 700 against their 160 here. But this is still something that you could do in your campaign. Look at these looters are starting to throw rocks. Because this is how the horse archer system operates, right? Even against 300, this might work. I wish it was 300 horse archers, because then this would feel even more valid. Now, if it was 1,000, you know, we would suffer serious losses, but I still think we can make this work. All right, so what we're going to start to do now is cram up, jam up the highways here, right? I'm creating a traffic jam. I'm also going to create ambush units down this hill. I know they're going to try to cross the river at some point. They have to regroup. So we're going to put the 5th archers all the way down here to essentially interrupt them. In other words, I'm hoping that as the horchers retreat, they run into just wave after wave of our angry troops attacking them and mowing them down. Now, they're killing looters. They're killing looters left and right, but they're free. We don't mind at all, right? Kill looters all you want. In fact, please target them. The crossbow's now shooting at them. I've got the 8th Corps. The 2nd Corps is facing them, and now we're really hoping that we can force them to come. They're coming right through the forest. Charge. All right, let's try to fucking quell this little leaking out here. They're kind of leaking out, and they just ran to the worst possible spot they could. They're running right through our formations in the forest. A crossbow's going to be shooting them. We can charge with our lovely ladies here and let the massacre begin, right? Horse archers jammed up, chopped apart, getting pounded off their horses by angry ex-housewives. I see rocks being thrown at them by all the looters. The looters are boring in on their back flank. And now the fucking 1st Corps here jams them up in this next spot I was hoping to. Now the final pinch is right here. Look at this shit. They're charging right through this little fucking narrow opening, and they are being decimated. Archers are just fucking destroying them. Over here, the 8th Corps is circling about. None of these horse archers are getting out of here. I think we can make it so that not a single horse archer makes it out. You bitches aren't getting out. These poor guys are just getting executed. The 8th Corps here is out on the river to cut them off. The archers, it is like an orgasm, like a tactical orgasm right here as the archers mow these guys down. In fact, I don't have to kill that guy. The archers will, right? Or the 8th Corps. He's going to get shot and killed. I don't think a single horse archer made it out of that assault. That is beautiful. And we suffered losses for sure, but a lot of them, I guarantee you, were looters. That worked beautifully. God, this game is fun, man. When you have a plan and you can execute it like that, it is close to sex. You guys are like 50-year-old talking about sex. Gross. I will occasionally get into philosophy on that shit. Enjoy your fucking sex drive while you're younger, fellas. When I was younger, I had an insane sex drive, and it very slowly has been slowing down, right? As you age, of course, men are capable of producing babies, probably deformed babies, but well into our 70s, 80s, and 90s. I think there's scientific evidence of like 70, 80-year-old men having children. But this horse archer, well, now they're not a horse archer force. This Khazad force is dead, right? They're now crossing the river. We have an ambush waiting for them. We're going to start peeling out archers here. Now that they're in the water, they're going to be much easier to attack. Our archers will be shooting downhill. We can bore our heavy cav towards them. We can have 2 different infantry divisions come down in a shield wall. I might be a little bit late here, but I still think this is going to work. Now, they have better troops, better archers, better infantry, right? We just don't have the comparative units, but with tactics here, I think we can really fuck these guys up. 8th Corps over here towards the water. That way I can drag them through their archers. And it's time to put away this fucking Khan here, Bortu, and his insolent band. Insolent fucks, right? Some guy said. That's practically the tagline of your channel. We're going to definitely shred these guys here. Our units are pouring downhill. That means they do more damage. Obviously, we have a lot of weak troops and looters in this army, so there's going to be casualties. I literally said, give me the weakest troops in our army here, and we're facing a very strong Khazad army. I see Imperial Elite Cataphract everywhere. Legionnaires and Dark Hands are pouring up, but we're still going to be able to mangle this army. follow through here with the 8th Corps. Damn, I'm not sure if they could make it through those rocks there, but we're going to try to drive cavalry right through all these archers. Now, I don't have a lot of cavalry, so we're definitely going to lose a lot of units here to their archers. They've got a bunch of archers, and they almost have a peekaboo ridge. I mean, we're already shooting at them, so it's not a true peekaboo ridge. Where the fuck is my 8th Corps? Yeah, they're all jammed up on the rocks over there. So that's not working well, but you just move on, right? When there's a tactical, something happens bad tactically, you just move on. The rest of our execution here is pretty clean, even though that 8th Corps, I'm not sure what happened to them. It's like they ran into cement and none of the horses could move. I'm moving though, right? And I'm just carving through their archers. This is where, of course, it would be nice to have 5 or 6 elite companions on horse. Alas, for this campaign, we don't have that, right? This is a relatively early campaign. I don't have any guys with 300 riding right behind me. But it doesn't matter. The screen just flushed green. They're getting reinforcements. How many forces do they have? I thought they only had like 1,000. It seems like they have way more than 1,000. But now we have an incredible position. Archers are pouring downhill. We're getting reinforcements, and there's no chance of a loss here because don't forget our reinforcements here are going to be elite. Or at least, as far as our army, elite. It's the back third or quarter of our troops, and because I chose weakest units first, the rest of the troops on the battlefield that just emerged with reinforcements are going to be elite. So this battle is not just over, it's a massacre, right? They're being scorched. And how beautiful is this, right? It'll be really interesting at the end of the battle to look at the looters' losses, because we're probably going to lose 250, 300 in this battle would be just a guess I have. I bet half are looters, right? Which is amazing because they're free. They're completely free, and we can just essentially a looter sacrifice here. Although I dare say they did more than just sacrifice, right? I actually see looters charging up right now, yelling at the enemy, "I'll tear your limbs!" It's a fucking glorious thing here. The enemy actually has their own equivalent of looters here at the very back. They have nomads and whatnot. And what a massacre, what a beautiful fucking battle this was. I don't include every battle, of course, in this campaign, but this is definitely a battle with some... There goes Boar 2, just chopped down the con. This is definitely a battle where those tactics are going to be worth sharing, and just sort of the role-playing element. Like our looter vanguard here carves apart the enemy, and this Khazate force just melts away like a bitch. They got 3 pathetic archers over here just waiting for a javelin in the face. And we roll on here, right? This campaign rolls on. And it's way more satisfying to play this kind of a campaign than just to roll around with Vanguard Faris. Of course you're going to win with elite units. It's much more satisfying to kill Imperial Elite Cataphracts with fucking bowl-cutted militia and afro-wearing bandits and shit like that. This has just been an absolute pleasure to play. Now, a lot of losses, actually. 500, but look at that. Oops, ran to a rock here. Fully a third of our losses. Actually, it's probably a lot more than that because our other units have looters and whatnot. I lost 150 looters here. They killed 150, is that right? It says upgrades. How can looters upgrade? Looters don't upgrade. I'm not sure what that means. But we lost like 130, 140 looters here, which is amazing, right? Our looter vanguard did exactly what I wanted right there.
Give up. Enough.
Come with us. In fact, Boar 2, your time is at an end, right? As soon as we get a hold of Boar 2 here, it looks like one of our companions have taken him prisoner. Come with us, right? We've got a demonstration for you on Newton's concepts of physics and gravity with a battle axe. It's too bad you can't execute him with a hammer. That'd be a great option for us fucking sadists. You just hit him like 28 times with a hammer. Incidentally, another very brief little historical thing. The French aristocracy, or even English aristocracy, it was very common for you to give a gold piece to your executioner, and then they would... Now, these are the best bolts you can get in the game. That's fucking beautiful. And then presumably they would... use their sharpest axe or whatever, right? They would swing their hardest swing so that it didn't take several blows. There were many instances in medieval history where it did take more than one blow of the axe to kill people, which you can imagine is a pretty grisly, horrific way to go. All right, let's see. Another quick little editing here as we shove and reorganize some troops, and then it's down to Hubyar to continue this revolution, right? I've got to fix these companion armies, get them set up with better troops, and I will try to show you as much of that as I can here before we head back north to try to finish off these arrogant Aserai lords. All right, garrison at Danustica loaded up. Shit, I forgot to get a governor. Let's get here, Arwa. We can put our mother in charge, right? Nothing wrong with having mom be the governor of one of your critical cities. You can see the garrison now 600, and that is because we had the help of a little band of raiders. There was a band of steppe raiders that during our loop we gathered up, and now they are helping us defend Danustica. I kept some of them in the army as well. We had a little break, a little bit of food, a little bit of caffeination, and now head south, reinforce this army down here. In fact, she's almost heading this way as if she knows our plans. Defend Hubyar, and then we will return north to continue our raid on the Aserai. Now, there's even more looters here. There's a surprising amount of looters, but they are attacking and defending for us. It is awesome. These bands of looters really have become allies in this campaign. Of course, they avoid us, and they never attack us. I mean, we got attacked a long time ago, but it was because we were badly outnumbered and had to fight them. There's a Khazate army forming here. It's really doesn't worry me too much, although I'm happy to chase them away and delay some of their attempt here. Now, speaking of Khazate, where's Bortu? I thought I had Bortu. I thought we took him prisoner. Maybe he already escaped. I'm going to execute this fella here. Erebelos. I don't know where. Okay, evidently he's escaped, but look at the looters go, right? Look at the looters are hammering away here on an army. You got to love it. And maybe, just maybe, engaging the looters are engaging this Khazate mercenary force. Maybe, just maybe, we could trap this Khazate force, but you know what? It doesn't really matter. We can just go by this guy. We'll be back in time to defend wherever he goes and attacks. And now both those cities up there have significant garrisons. I'm just not worried about them. It'll be at least a week before either of those falls. Look at Daisies of the Embers has been taken prisoner by the looters. Looters in capital letters. I love it. The looters are just carrying them off. You can picture them holding all the mercenaries over their head. We captured them. All right, let's gather up these armies here. It looks like her army finally disbanded. Sometimes they'll do that if they don't have a target or don't have enough influence to maintain their army here. I'm gonna go ahead and recruit all the livelong way down to Hubyar because I want these cities piling up troops. It doesn't seem like they recruit very well from the villages to these cities. They don't seem to be adding the My Little Warband units. So I will do a little bit manually here. I'll shove a bunch of troops into Razi here, and then we will head down to Hubyar. Trying to think if there's enough time to go on another little historical run here. I've already talked about Louis XVI. I've talked about sort of the necessary ingredients for the French Revolution, right? The people were extremely poor. Things had gotten very unequally unbalanced in their country. The clergy and the nobles seemingly had all the money, and the people were just extraordinarily destitute, and they were fed up, right? Literally, actually, they were the opposite, where they were not fed up, right? They were rioting over the price of bread. I mean, that is when you're in a bad state, when the people literally can't afford bread. And of course, you have large waves of starvation. And that starvation eventually leads to what we call famine. And a little clarifying point here. When people say Quayaz is under siege, well, not going to be able to do anything about that. Hopefully this army we assist goes over there and does something about that. When they say people die of famine, almost always, they're not saying people like literally starve to death, like Auschwitz and you know, where they were quite literally starving. Usually when there are big periods of famine, what they're referring to is people didn't have very much to eat for extended periods of time, months, whatever it might be. And they don't usually actually die of famine. What happens, of course, is the human body is extremely difficult to starve completely. But what does happen is your defenses start to weaken. And so you become highly subjective to... Rayma is pregnant. All right. We're cranking out some future children here. Man, that's another fertile wife we've got in this campaign. But people become very subjective to all the various different diseases that have attacked human beings throughout the history of mankind. When you're starving, you simply don't have the internal strength to fight off stuff. Of course, most of us, when we get sick today, as you can see, some troops snuck in here. We'll dump them at the earliest convenience. But, you know, when we get sick today, what do they say, right? Have some chicken noodle soup, have some vitamin C, make sure you get plenty of nutrients, water, all of that good stuff, and that helps you fight the disease. Of course, if you're starving, you don't have any chicken soup, you don't have any vitamins, etc., and so your body's defenses are much weakened. So when people, when there's a famine, people are usually not actually starving to death. What it is that they are, okay, I made the point. Yeah, you get it. They die of disease. They die of illnesses, colds, viruses, tetanus, etc. So this Aserai force, it looks like they lost continuity and an army is reforming here. There's already one little pathetic army sieging, but we're going to attack this larger army trying to reform here. They left one army attacking or sieging the city. I have no idea why the garrison doesn't just destroy that army. Oh shit, it's dumping us right in here, of course. Let's see. All right, we'll be able to maneuver here. Let's pull right over this ridge here, and then we will reset our units here. I'm going to take 20 seconds here to divide my units, of course, because it dumped us right in here. But I have no idea why there's... why there's only one Aserai force still sieging. The rest just ditched him. And even more strange is that the garrison there, which is like 500 strong, didn't destroy that guy, right? Didn't attack. We'll look at that in a minute. First, this Aserai force, it's a small force, so I'm only pulling back here because I don't want their horse archers shooting our ladies in their prom dress full of holes. We should be able to swallow up this force very readily. In fact, a lot of these battles, of course, especially in the future, we'll just skip. I'm not going to waste your time. I think we're outnumbering them almost 2 to 1. When you count all the different forces that we've brought together here, this will be a massacre. Although you see their horse archers are having a great time just firing rounds into our troops. Fucking assholes. Killed their flag bearer at least. And I've got 2 or 3 divisions boring behind me here. We're going to cut these guys' retreat off and fuck them up. That sound always, man, it sounds like it hurts. There's some death sounds that are, they're not real, pronounced. And then that one, it just sounds like it hurts. Just getting slashed across your chest with a very sharp glaive like this. My God, that would hurt. All right, so the rest of their forces look like they are in what I consider defeat formation on the other side of the valley here, a ring defense. We've got 400 archers and 100 horse archers, and they're going to form a ring defense, which I've started also calling just a bullseye. It just shows you exactly where to shoot, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I don't have my normal divisions here, but I do have 2 archer divisions, a crossbow division, 2 infantry divisions, and 3 cav divisions. And we're going to be able to simply surround and pound this ring until they either give up or all of them are dead. Do a little javelin assault here, get 3 kills within 1 second by arcing them into their ranks. Their shields didn't help them at all. And we will start setting up these troops. They still have horse archers, sort of menacing, prickling us a little bit here, but they're going to be defeated pretty quickly. We just have so many units that once they set their feet, all these archers are going to start shooting, and the horse archers here are just going to melt away. It's going to be savage. In fact, while we bombard them here, so again, a little bit more enrichment, a little bit more leading up to it. The people by this stage, 1792 in France, they are having bread riots, right? They are enraged. Back then, the women did most of the shopping for the typical family, right? You had your husband, the breadwinner, and then women, they would do most of the cooking, cleaning, child rearing, all the traditional things. And they knew the price of bread. Women were acutely aware because, of course, they were given a small amount of coin, sous. I think sous is the term. That's like the French penny or something like that. And they had to go down to the market and buy bread, buy wheat. Probably almost everybody made their own bread. It's probably very expensive to buy nice bread. Which brings me up another point I can talk about at some point or other. Our little is still present today. Our little worship of the aristocracy is part of the reason that knuckleheads are still eating nutrient-devoid white bread. That fat is kind of fading as we understand that it's absolutely diarrhea for your body. But people still eat their white bread, and if that's you, I'm gonna make my little plea at some point during this episode not to do that shit. Don't eat white bread, and I can hopefully persuade you by giving you a couple different angles on that. However, their circle here is going to break free, I think, pretty soon because we are pounding them at range. The death spam is solid green, and we're going to collapse on and kill this Aserai force. Now, this is a large force, and it's strong, right? That's why look at the power bar. Incredibly, they're favored to win this battle, even though we have twice as many troops as them. This is happening primarily because our enemy has very, very good troops, right? We've got a bunch of tier 3, tier 4, maybe tier 2. Actually, we do have tier 2 units and a lot of women wearing dresses, and the enemy has Drudzinic champions and Imperial elite cataphracts. We're facing manifestly stronger foes. They're just being led by dipshits, right? They have no chance to defeat our tactical plans here. So 2 different infantry lines, of course. We're going to strafe the enemy, and I'm going to barrel in here with 1 infantry division while we hold the center with another. I don't have shock troops per se. I don't have our normal divisions here. These horse archers are holding this side. They can just sort of push forward for us. We've got this 1st division here. I do see a bunch of shock troop, lovely ladies in there. So we will form them at a right angle to the enemy's approach and then bore in on them. On the far side there's the 8th Corps, which is an infantry division this battle, and the 6th Corps, and they're going to take losses, but over here we're going to do work. Actually, look at all those archers. I want these women getting in there. These archers are a problem. These are high-level archers, and our women in dresses are not going to do well against a whole line of archers. I see Fian champs and shit in there, so we're going to have to leave that other side to those 3 divisions and bore in on these archers. Some of their infantry sort of split, so we'll deal with these guys, but I'm going to tear straight in on those archers. I have the 1st division moving in a shield wall because archers here are definitely a priority. Our army does pretty well against melee, but against archers we just get shot to pieces, just like Hugh the Hammer, just like that, right? I just don't have a good amount of guys with shields, and a lot of people have very minimal armor. All right, in we go here. I'm just going to outrun all these infantry here, and let's just do some fucking ballerina-style archer annihilation here. This fucking lethal hammer, 300 athleticism, and it's just a weaving wave of death. I mean, I just killed half their archers myself. Come get some. You want some too, you Fian champs? On your back, bitches. I mean, just fucking... This character is a beast. I mean, I have played a lot of Bannerlord, and I've played some beasts, but never a character like this before. He kills everything. The only way he gets killed is being shot in the head, because that's his weak armor spot, right? That bare head is weak. But I swear, I just killed half their archers on my own. That was unbelievable. I've played, a couple hours today, and when I play long sessions like this, naturally, your fingers, your brain, your whole system, everything gets dialed in, and I just feel like I can do whatever I want right now. Stomp these fucking insolent Aserai here. We're going to destroy this little garrison force attacking the garrison here, 200 and something troops, and then we will move on. I mean, hardly any losses here. We are suffering death every battle, but again, we continue to restock those quite readily now at this stage. Is this guy the leader? I do need mercenaries to help, right? I don't need them for our army, but our other army needs them, right? They need troops badly. They're not going to win outnumbered like we can. So I'm still looking for mercenary clans to join us. Quite frankly, I'm a little desperate for it because we have our player clans. We have like 4 player clans, but that's not going to cut it, right? An army of 500 is not going to be able to go out there and just hold the west front. While we attack the other side, right? We need 1,000 over there. Otherwise, we're not going to have a good time with it. All right, let's see how much I want to show you this shit. We're gonna relieve Hubyar here, pick up some reinforcements. Hubyar is not actually ours, so we're not going to be able to grab a bunch of forces from here. This is owned by one of our... We've got some looters here. In fact, there's a couple looters closing in on this guy. Engaging Dial's party. That's amazing. These looters are coming in for the kill. We'll take this band here. Hopefully we don't scare that other band away. In fact, we'll take all of these guys here. I will disseminate these troops to our other armies here. And I think we'll do a little bit of editing. I do want to watch, though, this looter. Oh, no, don't run. Ah, he got a little bit cowardice there at the very last moment. It said engaging. I swear it said engaging Dial's party, and then it looks like he thought better of it. He's like, oh, shit, those guys are armored. So we'll just sweep in here. We lost a lot of troops there, so that tells you that army was loaded with good troops. But he smashed. We will now separate these units amongst our different armies, and we will be right back. Some worthless loot here. We need this guy here. This guy... Dial is murdered. Okay, that is a new one. I don't have the mod. I've never seen that before. Dial is murdered. I don't know what just happened there. I didn't execute him. I wonder if one of our companions executed him. He's just, all this guy's murdered. I have never seen that before in a lot of hours playing this game. There must be a mod gone haywire, or maybe my companion armies are just following my lead. I think it would say he was executed, but he's murdered. I think that was the guy we just took. I don't understand what's happening here, but we're gonna roll with it. Hopefully, I am still recording, so I'll be able to include that here before we distribute these troops. What a fucking weird thing that was. Our guys are murdering noblemen now. That's perfect for our campaign. Murder away there, fellas. I wish they would murder all the nobles as we just captured guys. That would be hilarious. All right, now we'll take a little break here. We'll do a little bit of stuff here at Hub Yar, and we will be on the move.